Rogers TV Ottawa.
This is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It is Wednesday, January 18th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, light snow, -2. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. The public school board in Ottawa plans to hire a Jewish equity coach. City News reporter Chris Curries with more on what that means.
It comes after the Ottawa Carleton District School Board passed a motion last night unanimously that would see the position created at the school board. Duties would include being the main contact person for anyone experiencing anti-Semitism at the board, organize Holocaust education, and collaborate with senior staff on responses to hate crimes in schools. It comes after a recent Nazi-related incident at Sir Robert Borden High School and the reveal from trustee Nilly Kaplan-Mirth, who brought forward the motion, that she receives death threats, hate messages, and anti-Jewish remarks. Chris Curries, City News.
With the weather forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here is City News weather specialist Denise Andriachi.
A guaranteed high of -1 today. We had that threat of freezing rain earlier in the morning. A bit of light snow kind of continues early on. Then we're mostly cloudy, down to -11 overnight. Quiet and cloudy to start the day, but periods of snow Thursday night and through Friday. More snow, 10 to 15 centimeters between both days expected. The guaranteed high today, -1.
City News time is 10:02. Hudson's Bay has announced 25 initial Bay locations will also have a Zealous experience. Of the 25 stores, 2 are in Ottawa and 1 is in Gatineau. The Hudson's Bay stores at Saint Laurent, Rideau Centre and the Promenade Gatineau will all house the stores, which could take up to 10,000 square feet. The stores are set to open in the spring. And it's another busy day for Canadians at the Australian Open while the reigning champion is out in the men's draw. Simon Bennett has the latest.
Felix Auger-Aliassime is off to round 3, but it was a fight to get there, coming back from 2 sets down against Alex Bolcan. He told the crowd it was a fight to survive for a while.
At some point, I was just trying to spend a little bit more time on the court in front of you guys, try to find a way to make the match tough.
Denis Shapovalov is on court right now, looking to join him in round 3. And the women's draw, Bianca Andreescu was knocked out by Kristina Buxa. But the big story, there will be a new men's singles champion, Rafael Nadal, playing through pain.
You okay, Rafael?
Chair umpire asking him if he's okay.
Despite a hip problem, he made it to the end, but lost to Mackenzie McDonald. Nadal says it was important to him to finish the match.
I didn't want to retire, to be defending champion here.
Simon Bennett, City News.
I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on the Sam Laprade Show. We have a busy show for you again today. A little bit later, we're going to spend some time with Senator Patrick Brazeau. He has quite a story to tell. He's going to share some time with us a little bit later here on City News. We know this week has been all about Ontario healthcare. We know Premier Doug Ford and Health Minister Sylvia Jones brought down some plans for privatizing some of the surgeries in this country. We wanted to get caught up today with Dr. Rose Zacharias. Hi, Doctor.
Hello.
Doctor, of course, is the president of the Ontario Medical Association. Doctor, let me ask you this. When you heard the news, were you surprised?
Well, we have been recommending for some time, Ontario's doctors have, for a series of surgical centres in the community, integrated with the hospital, publicly funded, of course, to catch up on the serious surgical backlog that we have. Patients have been waiting far too long. We dealt with a 3-year pandemic, which didn't help as far as those elective procedures that were often canceled because of, and it was nobody's fault, we dealt with the crisis of COVID. But wait times have been an issue in Ontario even prior to the pandemic. So this solution is actually, in many ways, aligned with what we have been recommending.
So let me ask you this: the profit part, is that a challenge for you? I know we heard from other representatives in the healthcare world that said, listen, these should be not for profit. Is that a problem?
So Ontario's doctors have been very clear. We are for a single payer, publicly funded healthcare system that is paid for by OHIP. And so these surgical centers indeed must follow that model. No one should be paying out of pocket. No one jumps the queue to be first in line. And of course, no one bumps anyone else. People come forward as per their need. And we just have so many. We measured 22 million patient care procedures that were delayed as a result of COVID. Many of those are surgical services, and so patients are getting sicker. We needed a way to catch up inside of our publicly funded system, and so these surgical centers can indeed follow that model. We are committed to working with government to see that those principles through.
And Dr. Zacharias, we know that, for instance, where the Premier had done the announcement was at Kensington, which was attached to a hospital. Some of these locations will not be attached to a hospital. Does that give the Ontario Medical Association any pause for concern?
So we have been very clear that these surgical centers need to be integrated with the hospital system inside of our broader Ontario health regions, and so that regulation and oversight and even the strategy around which doctors and nurses work in these surgical centers, because we are dealing with a severe doctor and nursing shortage, and so we see that integration with hospitals is extremely important to ensure that the doctors and nurses are needed, are where they can do the patient care, and that our hospitals can continue to deliver the higher acuity, more emergent care that is required of them.
So if a clinic, let's say, was in Barrhaven and the Queen's Park Carleton Hospital was, 12, 15 kilometers away, that isn't what you're wanting at the Ontario Medical Association?
Oh, I think that as far as, the geographical location of where these surgical centers would be may indeed be kilometers away from an actual building. But what I'm talking about is just the system, that they would be an integrated system with the hospital, and that there would be administrative oversight for where doctors are operating and when they are also have obligations to the hospital to cover for the emergencies that would be coming in. And so in this way, there would be a strategy to manage the human health resources, the doctors and nurses, around the surgeries that are being done in the surgical center, as well as the surgeries that are being done in the hospital on any given day.
So what was announced on Monday by the Premier and by the Health Minister, how many boxes does it check for the OMA? Is it checking all of those boxes then?
I think what we do see is checking some key boxes. So, namely the integration piece. Integration is essential, as I've just been saying, to ensure that smooth patient experience, to protect patient safety and quality, and to support the healthcare human resource planning. So, a commitment to health human resource planning is an alignment that we see and are encouraged by, and also a commitment to the publicly funded aspect of this model in compliance with the Canada Health Act. And so those alignments are what we're looking for, and we're committed to working with government. I think what needs to happen now is an implementation committee, and we would sit there, the external stakeholders would come to that table and work with government to see this model implemented.
We heard the Premier say that he spoke to doctors that indicated that they're not being fully used and that sometimes those operating rooms are dark. Have other solutions been wasted in terms of, or not implemented before this solution that the Premier bought? Was there another way to get to the backlog?
I think what we have been looking for is a solution. Ontario lags behind a little bit in this type of model. We actually have seen it and have had time to study it in other provinces such as British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. These surgical centers are able to do 25% more procedures, and that's more people coming through the queue and getting their care. And so what we know is the status quo is not working. I've been in an emergency department for 20 years working as a doctor, and we are seeing patients showing up sicker, waiting, dealing with chronic pain, the mental health duress, an overlay of depression and anxiety when their physical health is deteriorating, the burden and stress on a caregiver because their elderly partner is not able to walk, and a hip replacement surgery would actually enable that person. And so what we know is that it has not been working. Our patients deserve better, and we have been recommending to government surgical centers that would be focused to deliver these procedures. And so this sort of bold solution is one we're committed to working with government on to adhere to these principles and to provide better care for our patients.
We've heard from the opposition parties that they're concerned about patients being upsold on procedures. Is that a concern of the Ontario Medical Association?
So what's really important here is that anything that is medically necessary continues to be funded by OHIP as it is now. And so if there are instances where patients are being offered, this or that upselling feature, then, there are ways to regulate that type of activity to protect a patient from getting, bumped down a queue. People need to be triaged according to their need, and whoever's first in line, their procedure should be covered by OHIP. And this is what we've been recommending to government, and it's how we want to be providing care for patients.
Mm-hmm. Are you concerned at all about this plan? Is there anything that Ontarians should be nervous about?
I think what would address any of our concerns is that implementation committee. And so we have been working closely with government as we recommend this model. And now we need to continue to be at the table. So even striking of an immediate implementation committee where Ontario's doctors are at, as well as all external stakeholders, to come to the table, keeping in mind these key principles, the moral conviction really that we have as Ontarians to deliver publicly funded health care and ensure equal access to everyone. And so that is what we want to see now and are committed to seeing through.
We know we speak a lot here on City News with Dr. Doris Grinspun. I know you know the name well, the CEO of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario. She is not happy with this plan at all. She's concerned about nurses. From the perspective of the Ontario Medical Association, are you concerned about how this impacts nurses?
So in the emergency department, as I have been for the last 20 years, I can say from lived experience, every member of the healthcare team is critical, is so valuable. Coming to the bedside during a resuscitation, I am one member of the team. I'm often the team leader because I'm the emergency department doctor. But around that bed is nurses and respiratory technicians and lab technicians and x-ray technicians, and we work together to save a life. And so every time we come forward and recommend healthcare solutions inside of a system that's broken, we think about everyone that belongs there. And so really a shout out to all of my healthcare peers who are working very hard inside of a broken system and who want to do better. And we're committed to doing better.
So why is the OMA so happy with this plan and the RNAO not happy with this plan?
I think what we see and are encouraged by is that we know we need a solution to provide better care for our patients. People are getting sicker. It used to be months when someone was recommended for a hip replacement surgery that they would then see the orthopedic surgeon, get an operating room date, and come to the hospital and get that surgery, and then continue on with an improved quality of life. That's not happening now. People are not getting called for their hip replacement surgeries. They are languishing in many ways at home or coming to the emergency department multiple times with pain issues, continued deterioration of their physical health. And so a solution that is designed to deliver that better care that these patients have been waiting for far too long is what we are encouraged by.
Really appreciate your time, Dr. Zacharias. I know how busy you are, and you've been very generous this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr.
Rose Zacharias joining us today, president of the Ontario Medical Association. Really interesting perspective from her today, and we appreciate it. We're trying to cover all sides of this story. It certainly is a big story for all Ontarians. When we come back, we're going to spend time talking about, well, our favorite bear. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
My name is Chase Nicholas. I am a Mi'kmaq hockey player. Growing up, I always remember my family talking about the Mi'kmaq as the creators of the game of hockey. In grade 7, I did research on Mi'kmaq hockey sticks as the first sticks of the NHL. I found a Mi'kmaq hockey stick made in 1917, the same year the NHL was formed. I was surprised to find out the very stick I was holding was made by my great-great-grandfather, Alexander Cope. In 1934, an elder known as Old Joe Cope wrote a letter to the Halifax Herald claiming the Mi'kmaq created hockey. I found out later that I am a direct descendant of Old Joe Cope. There was a time when Mi'kmaq children were torn from their families and not allowed to speak their language, losing their words and stories. But the stories are coming back to us. Stepping on the ice, I take pride knowing the roots of the game of hockey stem from my ancestors in the Mi'kmaq Nation.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting, and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, there's lots of days to celebrate, and we're celebrating a very special day today with the Ottawa Public Library, and that is National Winnie the Pooh Day today. And we wanted to get caught up with librarian Beth Goslet today. Hi, Beth.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Beth, I had no idea there was a National Winnie the Pooh Day. How exciting is that?
Very exciting.
And I think people think about Winnie the Pooh and you know, kind of giggle about it. But the reality is that book has many, many different themes in it, Beth. Do you want to walk us through some of those?
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic, published in 1926 originally, and has seen so many different formats and versions over the last almost 100 years. A very lovable character, super cuddly. The animation that Disney did, of course, made him even more lovable. He's innocent. He's earnest and honest, and of course his friends are always there to support him. So yeah, the themes are relatable for everyone.
And I think too, when we sort of think about mental health, there's actually a lot of mental health themes in this book as well, in terms of Eeyore and Tigger and Piglet. There's lots of different sort of themes in this book that I think, and you know, when you get older, you see them, but they don't sort of stand out to kids. Tell us a little bit about the history of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, so the name Winnie was actually based on a real black bear cub who was named after Winnipeg, the city. So there's a Canadian connection there. And the author, A.A. Milne, his son had a stuffed animal bear that he named Winnie. And so the author was inspired by that stuffed animal, as well as his other ones that he incorporated into different characters in the story.
Yeah, so it's wonderful. I love the Canadian connection there, Beth, as well, and I'm sure it's a popular book at the Ottawa Public Library, and I think it's a classic for all kids.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have about 65 items related to Winnie the Pooh in the collection, including the original stories, and then some of Disney's versions, as well as DVDs and CDs and streaming video and audio related to all the different formats that Winnie has found himself in.
And I think about one of my favorite quotes, and it is, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." And that's that message I think all parents want to give to their kids.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, I think it's super relatable for everyone. I told my father about this last night, and he said, "I grew up on those books." I mean, it's spanning generations. It's definitely a story that most people can see themselves in.
Well, I'm sure, Beth, as you walk around the Ottawa Public Library, and you're obviously have your access to so many books, it is rare to see something sort of go through time like that and become a classic, and be able to have a grandfather read it to their grandchild and know that they knew it when they were young. It is rare to be able to do that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a few classics in children's that we definitely see spanning generations, but Winnie the Pooh is such a strong one, especially because of just how it's been in many different formats, television shows. I watched that television show when I was growing up. So yeah, it's definitely one of our favorites and a super popular one.
Did this author write any other books, Beth?
Not that I know of, but doesn't seem to really matter because it's been so popular throughout, like I said, almost 100 years now. And yeah, people are still asking us about it. I recently helped somebody find a cookbook, the Winnie the Pooh cookbook. So
That's so cute. That's so cute.
he's everywhere. He's everywhere.
That's amazing. Does the cookbook main ingredient, was it honey?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. There you go. We love that. So let me ask you. I remember when my daughter, she couldn't even read yet, but off we went toddling to the Ottawa Public Library to get her library card, and now, proudly she'll say to me, "Oh, Mom, I'm going to jump on the bus. I've got to go pick up a book I have on hold." I mean, that's really what the library is all about. It's taking those generations and making them readers.
Yes,
right?
One of our
love of reading.
One of our main values is lifelong learning. So as soon as you can get your child into the library, the better, because that just incorporates it into their culture. And if you're reading, then they're going to model themselves after you, and so they will also be interested in reading.
And let me ask you, Beth, when you see little ones in there and they're with their parents, it's I think it's also something that's really difficult to do in today's day and age, is just to be able to maybe be without devices for a bit and have some of that quiet time. And a lot of people will say, geez, the library, is it passé? I think it's actually more relevant than ever, because it's almost that antidote to devices. It's that antidote to spending that quality time with your child and walking away with, as many books as you can put in the bag, and then coming back and refreshing the love of reading and having, a child pick out books for themselves. It really is, it's some of my most fond memories with my daughter.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to see families coming in. We have at Beaverbrook, that's the branch I'm at, we have 6 story times a week. So one is happening as we speak. So I think that is definitely a way to start bringing literacy into your family, is perhaps attending one of those, because we don't use devices in story time. It's all about the books.
Mm-hmm, I love that. Well, happy National Winnie the Pooh Day. Beth, thank you so much for spending time with us on City News.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Beth Goslet joining us today, a librarian with the Ottawa Public Library. Noah, did you enjoy Winnie the Pooh when you were a kid?
As a kid, and I'll retell this again because I think I shared this with you, but as a kid, I was so obsessed with Winnie the Pooh that I told my dad until I was about 8 years old that he had to call me Tigger, or I would refuse simple commands. I just wouldn't do anything unless they said Tigger. So.
Well, I just fell in love with you more today, Noah. I love that story. So you're celebrating National Winnie the Pooh Day. We are here.
I'm stoked.
Absolutely. City News doing that. We appreciate the time of a busy librarian today at the Ottawa Public Library. When we come back, we're spending time with Senator Patrick Brazeau. I have spent time with the senator before. Trust me, you will not want to miss it. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
At Celebrate Ottawa, we love showing you something a little different. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that prove Ottawa is a vibrant and exciting city. We'll entertain you and we'll even teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grine, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
Hi, I'm
I'm Daniela Lard, and I am a proud Ottawa born and raised singer-songwriter, and I'm part of Encore Ottawa 3. I really hope you like the music and just come and see all of the talent that Ottawa has to offer.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It is Wednesday, January 18th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, -2. In Smiths Falls, it is -1. And here's what's making news this hour. A new poll finds more Canadians blame the weather and airlines for the recent travel chaos than the government. The data from Angus Reid finds 70% of Canadians are as likely to blame the weather, and 68% are also as likely to blame the airline and rail companies, while 33% point the finger at the government. Over the holidays, Sunwing cancelled flights due to weather stranding hundreds of passengers in Mexico, while ahead of Christmas, some Via Rail trains were stuck on the tracks in between Toronto and Ottawa, with passengers trapped on board for more than 20 hours. The union representing Ontario nurses says the province's plan to perform more surgeries at private clinics will affect upcoming contract negotiations. Brenna Robinson, the interim president of the Ontario Nurses Association, says hospitals will have to offer more to entice professionals to stay. Premier Doug Ford announced this week that Ontario will do more procedures such as cataract, hip and knee surgeries outside of hospitals to reduce wait lists and ease pressures on the healthcare system. Critics warn the move will cause further staffing crunches if workers choose to work at private clinics and offer weekday shifts instead of the overnight and weekend work hours that are common for hospitals. And time is running out to get a ticket for the Snowsuit Fun 50/50. The draw is this Friday after 8:30 a.m. The total amount raised is now over $664,000, which means the lucky jackpot winner will go home with more than $330,000. Tickets are still available for between $10 to $100 each at snowsuitfun5050.com or by sending the word money to 55555 to have a donation link sent directly to your mobile phone. Half of the money raised will go to the lucky jackpot winner. The other half will be used to buy snowsuits for kids in Ottawa who need one this winter. City News time is 10:31. I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
I'm Sam Laprade. Thank you so much for joining us here on City News. Well, the very first thing I read this morning was this. 7 years ago today, I tried to commit suicide. Today, I'm sober and have introduced bill number S-254. Alcohol contributed to 98% of my problems. Quitting alcohol contributed to 100% of my solutions. Don't take life for granted. Hashtag mental health. Hashtag suicide prevention, hashtag First Nations. And that was written by Senator Patrick Brazeau, and he joins me now. Hello, Senator.
Good morning, Sam. How are you?
Senator, thank you so much for just being so open and so raw about your journey. Take me to the moment where you shared this morning. Where was your mind at?
Well, actually, my mind's been very busy, and my office's minds have been very busy lately because of the introduction of Bill S-254, which would require, a labeling and warning labels that the consumption of alcohol can cause up to 7 types of fatal cancers. And so, with the news yesterday about the new drinking guidelines, a lot of it is all coincidental, but it's a fact that 7 years ago I did try to commit suicide, and alcohol was not 100% the reason why I tried to commit suicide, but certainly had a big part in it because I truly believe, and I'm speaking for myself only, and it's very important for me to say that I'm speaking for myself only, but if alcohol wouldn't have been in play, there is no chance in hell that I would ever have tried to commit suicide, none whatsoever.
Respectively, Senator, can I take you back 7 years? Do you remember that day?
I remember that day. I will remember that day for the rest of my life, indeed, yes.
Mm-hmm. Can you take me there?
Well, look, to make a long story short, I had a quick rise to the Senate, and I had a quicker descent, and I got mixed up, and I had some personal problems, and then there were some professional problems that came, which I have always questioned, and I still question to this day. But having said that, I am not a victim, but I had a lot of things on my mind that had been, gathering for quite a number of months and years, actually. And I had literally hit rock bottom. I had no more self-confidence in myself. I didn't view myself worthy towards my children, towards any of my family members, towards my friends. And I had drank slowly all throughout that day. Which happened to be a Blue Monday, ironically. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I drank all the alcohol that I had with me, and then I went to the act, and the last thing that I remembered before I passed out was I heard my mom, yelling at me. And my mom had been dead since 2004, had passed away since 2004 from lung cancer. And so 2 days after that occurred, then I woke up from an induced coma.
Mm-hmm. And the message that you think you might have received from your mom, Patrick, was she telling you had lots to live for?
Well, I think sometimes it's hard to talk about these things, but I'm open about it. But I think my mom basically told me that I still was too early, and I still had a lot of fight in me.
And we're so glad you do have a lot of fight left in you. Could you ever imagine that we'd be having this conversation, 7 years later, and that you really have put a spotlight on something that has been put in dark corners, Patrick? It's been put under rugs. Nobody wants to talk about it, and every single time that you and I talk, every single time I learn something from you. And I think, not to be melodramatic about it, but I do think that you change lives when you open up, and you're so open and honest, especially to your community, to the Indigenous community. I think it's an important conversation.
Well, it is an important conversation because, unfortunately, and I'll just speak about alcohol, but alcohol has been around since the beginning of time, and perhaps cancer as well. And so, I think that if we start having more honest discussions about alcohol and its direct causal link to cancer, well, I think we are going to save lives, and hopefully, a lot of Canadians' lives, because I know that many Canadians are struggling, and so it's not fun when people are struggling. And with respect to my introduction of my bill S254, this simply deals with the causal link between alcohol consumption and cancer, and doesn't deal with all the other social and legal aspects of alcohol, drinking and driving, domestic abuse issues, and deaths, and etc. And the list goes on and on. But this bill is strictly about cancer and the need to have labels on our alcoholic products so that consumers can make better informed choices for themselves and have the information in front of them, because 75% of Canadians, 75% don't know that alcohol causes cancer. So we have to rectify that.
How can we help, Senator? How can we help today?
Well, as with any other piece of legislation, whether it's in the Senate or in the House of Commons, people, for those interested, they could write their members of parliament, they could write their senators from whatever region or province that they're from throughout the country. And, like I said, this bill is not to tell people what they should or should not do, what they should drink or what they should not drink, but rather, and it's not reinventing the wheel. We have done this with tobacco companies and cigarette products. And now in 2023, it's time that we start having honest discussions about alcohol, its negative effects on all of our society, and provide the health warning labels that consumers deserve in Canada.
Has this given you energy to be able to, I can't think of another word, but has it inspired you to be able to bring this forward in terms of your own journey? Has it kind of put a bit of a jump in your step in 2023?
Well, look, my children are the ones who give me my energy, because I'm thinking about them, and I'm thinking at the micro level, and if I raise my children to be as far away from alcohol as possible, well, they may not be may not have as greater chance of having the same problems as I might have, and so that's my focus at home, and that's I'm trying to bring it at a macro level within Canada, because I think it's very important, and I think that, like I said, consumers have the right to know what the health detriments come with the consumption of alcohol, and it should be on the labels.
And we know, Patrick, from research that the Indigenous community has suffered greatly in terms of suicide and in terms of alcoholism. What's your message to to people in the Indigenous community about your journey in particular?
Well, let me tell you this: when I was a national chief of an Indigenous organization before I came to the Senate, I did some research, and I had stumbled upon a quote, and I don't have it before me, but in other words, it was a superintendent or somebody representing the Department of Indian Affairs saying that, well, you keep the alcohol going in those communities because Indigenous peoples are just going to kill themselves. And you know what? In 2023, the Government of Canada and the provincial governments also know that alcohol is a big problem in First Nations communities, yet there are no proper health systems in place, or where people could go access some help, mental health help, or in terms of people trying to prevent suicides. They are not properly funding any of that. And so they know that people are killing themselves off. And, by introducing this piece of legislation, I'm just trying to raise awareness, and specifically in Indigenous communities, because it's important that they also have this information before them. And especially given the fact that, the post-generational trauma that many First Nations people have endured because of residential schools and turned towards substances and alcohol, more clear messaging needs to come from the federal government on that front.
Is it, and I'm trying to find the right word, is it a big responsibility for you, Senator Brazeau, to sit in the Red Chamber knowing that you represent First Nations people? Is it? Do you think it's an extra responsibility than maybe your colleagues beside you?
Well, I seem, obviously it's a huge responsibility, and I'm very lucky and I'm very humbled to still be able to hold my seat in the Senate and hopefully provide pieces of legislation like Bill S-254 and perhaps others in the future. Because when I first got involved in politics, all I wanted to do was try and make a difference as an Indigenous person from Maniwaki, Quebec, from the Kitigan-Zibi Reserve. I wanted to be somebody. I had hopes and dreams, but at some point those came crashing down because of external forces and bad decisions that I made in my life. But if we fast forward now, there's always an opportunity, and I'm trying to take advantage of this opportunity to do good with some people. And if myself coming out and speaking about my own journey will save lives, then that makes me happy, and it's my responsibility because I have this lived experience to try and help as many people as I can. And so yes, it's a big job, but I'm still there. I'm still up for it, and every day I count my lucky blessings that I'm alive and I'm able to have this conversation with you, and hopefully many more in the future.
Well, I sure hope so. And while I have you, I know that this week has been heartbreaking for so many in the loss of Gino Ojic. And did you know Gino, Senator?
I knew, yes. What a shocking news. Obviously, Gino from the Kitty-Gonzibe Reserve, former NHL hockey player for the Montreal Canadiens, Vancouver Canucks, the Islanders, and the Philadelphia Flyers. Yes, I knew him. He actually played hockey with my brother when they were much younger. I saw him often at his local golf tournaments and whatnot. And, we had supper just several years ago, a couple of years ago, actually. And so, yes, I knew him, but, I spoke with family members and friends back home, and, the entire community is mourning because Gino brought a lot to the community, not just in Kitty-Gonzibe, but throughout Canada. And with respect to, many Indigenous peoples who are now in the NHL, were affected by the strides and the doors that Gino opened. So we're mourning, but he's gone to the spirit world, and he will be well surrounded by family and friends there.
My condolences, Senator. Thank you so much for sharing about Gino, and thank you so much for joining us on City News. I always leave just that little bit better after spending time with you and learning about your journey, and I always welcome your time, and you have an open invitation, Senator, anytime, okay?
Well, I always appreciate that, as always, because I think these are always important conversations to have. They're tough conversations to have. They're not conversations that everybody like to have, but for those who are struggling, I know from experience that when more and more people share what their struggles are, then more people will feel as if they're understood and that they're not alone and more likely to get help. And so it's a chain reaction, but it has to start somewhere.
Absolutely. I think we did that today. Senator, thank you again.
Thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful day.
You too. Senator Patrick Brazeau joining us today. 7 years ago today was a change day in the Senator's life, and we appreciate him spending time with us today. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum.
$20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Yo. Yep. Okay, I'll be there.
On Thursday's Daytime Ottawa, if you're looking to travel anytime soon, you'll want to tune in to Thursday's show. We're going to tell you about some of the top destinations, some of the trends when it comes to travel, and of course some advice of things you need to think about before you leave. We'll also tell you about a brand new art exhibition, and keeping on that theme, we'll tell you about a great opportunity for Canadian artists available out there. That's all that and more on Thursday's Daytime Ottawa.
Hi, I'm Meg from AIM Fitness, and I'm here with my buddy Fit Finley. Join us every week for Fit Over 50. We'll take you through some low-impact and high-intensity workouts designed to improve your strength and your balance. All you'll need is a resistance band, some light hand weights, and also your water bottle and a sturdy chair. Tune in right here on Rogers TV and let us be part of your weekly routine.
I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for being with us on City News. We certainly appreciate it. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a couple of incidents where hikers have had to be rescued by Ottawa Fire Service. We wanted to get some hiking safety tips today from Rob Burnfield, president of the Ottawa Outdoors Club. Hi, Rob.
Hello, how are you doing?
Great, Rob. I didn't even know there was an outdoors club here for Ottawa, so that's exciting. How many members do you have?
We normally have around 150, 200, somewhere around there.
Well, that's amazing. You've been hearing the stories as well, I'm assuming, here on City News about the hikers that have unfortunately had to call. They get sort of disoriented. It seems to be sort of at, just around 5 o'clock at night. The sun's going down. They get a little bit nervous. They get turned around. It happened near the Richmond area and then near Klondike. What advice would you have for people that are heading out and enjoying the outdoors, but we want them to be safe?
I suspect people have heard this before, but the big thing is planning, and a lot of simple planning can be done right at the beginning. First off, make sure that you have loads of food with you, high energy food. Water is really important. Take more than you think you might need. Make sure you have warm clothing. Layers is really good because if you start moving, you can warm up. Good footwear. If it's icy, it's good to have crampons, microspikes that you can put on your boots. So that's getting going, and that's the relatively simple stuff. Once you're out there, it's really good. Most people these days do have cell phones with GPS, and it really helps a lot if you've done some planning beforehand and know the route that you want to take. So you've looked at the map, both Gatineau Park and the Ottawa Greenbelt. There are good maps available. Take a look on the web. You can make use of the GPS on your phone to see exactly where you are, even if you don't have data coverage, whether if you don't have a data plan for it or if you happen to be out of cell coverage range. You can usually still download the maps on your phone beforehand and then just follow the little dot, which will tell you where you are. It's good to have your route on paper, so actually print it out, because colder weather, batteries don't last as well in phones. I've discovered that myself. Mm-hmm. So it's possible that your phone may die, so you really want to have a backup plan. If you are caught out when it's a little bit later, because things do, hikes do take a little bit longer than we typically think of in the wintertime versus the summertime. We move a little bit slower, might take a few more breaks. So and then the day is just shorter. In the summertime, we're expecting the sun to be up until 8, 9 o'clock, whereas now it's about 5 o'clock that the sun is setting. And we don't necessarily quite plan for that. So then it's good to make sure you have a flashlight. Headlamps are really good. have extra batteries, have a small first aid kit. If you're going to be in Gatineau Park, first is the NCC Greenbelt Trails. Make sure you have Gatineau Park's emergency number, because if you don't phone 911 for Gatineau Park.
Okay, good to know. Boy, I've learned a lot from you today, Rob. Let's stay in touch and keep sharing those great safety tips. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
Rob Burnfield joining us, president of the Ottawa Outdoors Club, and we certainly know Melanie Vogel knows lots about hiking, and she joins me now. Hi, Melanie.
Good morning from the Yukon.
Well, from the Yukon, that's amazing. And Melanie, I understand that you have hiked coast to coast to coast through Canada on the Trans-Canada Trail, so you know a lot about hiking. How have you done that, Melanie?
Well, in July 2016, when I still lived in Toronto, I just made my mind up. I decided that I want to go for another adventure, and decided to hike the Trans-Canada Trail. And on June 2nd, 2017, I finally set foot on the Trans-Canada Trail in Newfoundland, at the most eastern part of Canada in Cape Spear.
Wow, that's incredible. I've been to Cape Spear. It is absolutely gorgeous. So a great place to start off. Was this a lonely trek, Melanie, or did you have people along the way?
Well, I call it a solo walk, powered by human kindness. And that's because, yes, I did walk this trail alone. Part of it. I have to say, part of it. But I got supported by so many people all across the country. And in Manitoba, my dog that I named Malo joined me for the rest of my journey.
Wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful part of our country. I know, we know the Trans-Canada Trail goes right through Ottawa here, and many people enjoy it locally. It's a really important part of getting outside in the winter and enjoying that for our mental health, isn't it, Melanie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's for sure. Currently I'm preparing to writing my book, and I'm going back to all my journals that I wrote over the course of my journey. And I find over and over again myself writing about how nature is such a magical place, how I'm so content out there, what I discover, and just the beauty all along the Trans-Canada Trail and the diversity of the Trans-Canada Trail, going through so many different provinces, different terrain, it's, yeah.
Well,
amazing.
Well, I cannot wait to read your book, Melanie. When your book is ready, you have to join us again here on City News in Ottawa, okay?
I will, for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Melanie Vogel's sharing her journey, literally her journey, coast to coast to coast through Canada on the Trans-Canada Trail. Whatever you do when you're out on those trails and you're hiking, be safe. We got some great tips as well from Rob Burnfield in a little bit. We appreciate his time today. When we come back, Stuart McPherson is going to join us. He is with the Ottawa Small Landlords Association. We're going to be talking about that vacant unit tax. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Hey,
Hi, folks, it's me, Giovanni Patini, the host of the RTV quiz show, the hottest show on television. It's the hilarious quiz show where you, the viewers, play for valuable, non-existent prizes. It's got great trivia, fun facts, and a lot of laughs, all blended together in a perfect cocktail of edutainment. So join us Wednesdays at 7:30 right here on Rogers TV. Nice.
Hi, I'm Danielle Allard, and I am a proud Ottawa born and raised singer-songwriter, and I'm part of Encore Ottawa 3. I really hope you like the music and just come and see all of the talent that Ottawa has to offer.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Wednesday, January 18th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, -2. In Smiths Falls, it is -1. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. The World Health Organization calls it the most transmissible subvariant so far, and all signs indicate a surge of the so-called Kraken strain of COVID-19 is well underway in this province. City News reporter Kevin Meisner joins us with the potential fallout.
It's the XBB 1.5 subvariant, nicknamed Kraken, and it's spreading very quickly. Public Health Ontario projects Kraken will make up over 22% of all new COVID cases in the province before the end of the week. 3 weeks ago, it was just 2%. University of Ottawa epidemiologist Dr. Rewat Deonandan tells City News Kraken is the most easily spread subvariant so far.
We think it's more contagious because it binds to receptors more easily. So the growth advantage it has is significant over other variants.
He says it's a good idea to make sure your vaccines are up to date.
All signs point to the bivalent vaccine offering some kind of advantage.
Public health units with the most Kraken cases are Toronto, York Region, Niagara, and Haldimand, Norfolk. Right now, there are no signs Kraken causes more severe illness. Kevin Meisner, City News.
With the weather forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here is City News weather specialist Denise Andriachi.
No longer under the threat of freezing rain, but we still have a bit of light snow early on today. Overnight, we are mostly cloudy. Lows near -11, cloudy and quiet early Thursday, and then periods of snow for Thursday night. We'll probably see about 10 centimeters here in Smiths Falls and Ottawa for Thursday night. Through Friday, an additional 2 to 5 centimeters are possible. Highs near -3. For today, the guaranteed high -1.
City News time is 11:02. With more people still working from home, should unused offices space be turned into housing? City News reporter Mike Eppel reports.
Commercial property executives talking about the housing shortage at the World Economic Forum are raising the idea of office space conversions into housing properties, with an economic downturn reducing demand for offices and workers working from home or with this hybrid model. Many companies say they just don't need as many floors in those glass towers. So Howard Lutnick, chairman and CEO of New York-based investment firm Cantor Fitzgerald, during a panel discussion today at the WEF, says those office buildings need to be converted to residential. They'll likely become eyesores and need to be fixed if they're not being used. Lutnick says the biggest challenge will be making those properties sustainable for the environment, but at a lower price point focused on low-income housing. At the City News Business Center, I'm Mike Eppel.
And a warning from the National Capital Commission to stay off the Rideau Canal. Officials say due to warm temperatures this week, the surface of the skateway is dangerously thin, and the presence of work crews on the canal should not be construed as a sign that the ice surface is stable for skating. Signs have also been posted at access points to advise the public of the dangers of the ice in its current state. The Rideau Canal skateway typically opens in mid-January when the ice thickness measures at least 30 centimeters to accommodate the weight of the public. The NCC says only when the ice thickens and conditions are safe will the 53rd season of the world's largest skating rink kick off. I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310
Okay, if you're a homeowner, have you done it yet? Have you gone on to the ottawa.ca website and filled out the information that the city is looking for from you regarding the vacant unit tax? We know that a certain number of course, people living in the Ottawa area have done it. They're still looking for everyone to complete this by mid-March. We wanted to speak with Stuart McPherson today from the Ottawa Small Landlords Association. Hello, Stuart.
Good morning, Sam.
So, Stuart, let me ask you, are you happy with this vacant unit tax? Is this something that you think is good for our city?
We think that the vacant unit tax is a very misguided attempt to deal with the housing crisis in Ottawa.
And what's the solution then, Stuart?
Well, the biggest problem that we're seeing is that all of the reports that are coming out say that Ottawa's housing crisis is a lack of housing. There was a report done last year that said over 10,000 homes would be needed to address the existing shortage, and an additional 89, almost 90,000 homes needed to meet the projected number of new households. So we've got to grow by over 100,000 homes over the course of the next 10 years. The vacant unit tax is going to address hundreds of potential vacancies, and what we're discovering is that city staff, when they did their analysis, actually, they didn't have good data. So we're not even sure that there's going to be hundreds of homes that are going to be made available. So the bottom line is that the vacant unit tax is a very expensive solution to the problem that is not going to actually solve the problem.
And let me ask you, you would think if anyone has good data on housing, you would think it would be the city of Ottawa. Why is their data not up to date then, Stuart, or reliable?
Well, the biggest thing is that it's not information that was previously collected by the city. There was no reason for them to collect it. They were getting property taxes on all of these buildings, and that's what they were worried about. They didn't care whether the property was occupied or not, as long as people paid their property tax. The only data that they had available at the time that they were doing this analysis was created in the 2016 census by the federal government. And so even then, that wasn't data that was collected for the purpose that it ended up being used. So the sad part is, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and computers were just coming on then, and there was a line that was being used at the time that talked about reliance on computer data, and it was garbage in, garbage out. And the idea was if you put bad data into your analysis, you're going to get bad information out of your analysis.
Do you think then that we're all being asked, the 307,000 residences that are here, that are owned in the city of Ottawa, do you think all of us are being asked to fill this out and essentially, and I'm not trying to dumb it down or anything, but do you think this is a waste of time essentially? Because I'm thinking, let's say 80% of people fill this out. And let's say 20% for whatever reason don't fill it out. They don't feel like they were communicated to. They forget to do it. The amount of time it's going to take to ask 20% of people if they actually live in their home or not, I can't imagine that being a quick process.
No, and the other thing that worries a number of us is the fact that a number of years back, the government of Ontario outlawed the idea of negative opting in, the idea of we're going to charge you if you don't respond to our line. So that's outlawed for commercial establishments. But now the city is actually doing that with the vacant unit tax. They're saying that if you're part of that 20% that don't answer for whatever reason, we're going to tax you 1% of the assessed value of your home. So that's thousands of dollars. And there's a number of people. I mean, I worry about senior citizens that are not technically adept, that they're getting this letter and they don't necessarily understand it. And no one is explaining to them exactly how to go through and follow through and make sure that they're in the exempted category. There are people that are going to be receiving tax bills in June that they really shouldn't be receiving.
So there is no sort of second chance, if you will. If you haven't filled it out by mid-March, in June, you'll be receiving this tax bill. Because I can only imagine then people are going to come back and say, well, I just didn't fill it out. Don't charge me this money. Is the city then going to withdraw that bill from them?
Well, they actually, as I understand it, did decide to be selectively generous, that if you don't fill out the survey by early March, there is a second opportunity to answer the question on the payment of a fee of $250. And I believe that only goes until the bills are actually issued in June. So you've got a second period between March and June where you can pay $250 for the privilege of telling the city that they shouldn't be taxing you.
So this is obviously, they're trying to encourage everybody to meet the deadline here, Stuart. But at the end of the day, we know there's going to be people that just don't. And there's been a lot of criticism around the way that the city's communicated this information.
That's correct. And I mean, I personally am facing a bit of a challenge because as a small landlord, I own a number of properties, but I own it in conjunction with business partners. And as it happens, my address is the address that's on file with the city as owner of the property. But my business partner is actually doing the property management. So she has been filing with the city the information that, yes, our properties are tenanted. But I'm the one that's getting multiple letters from the city saying, don't forget to file, don't forget to file. You probably haven't filed yet. And so that's creating an additional administrative burden because I have to find out, are we actually filed and we're getting these letters for no good reason? Or did we miss a property and we have to get it filed before we get an assessment in June? Mm-hmm. And I have no idea how much money the city is actually spending in order to administer this tax at this point.
Well, we understood from the city. My colleague, David Smith, I know, shared that we understand that it's about $8 million over 5 years to administer this. But one of the points that I brought up with one of the councillors was that, it's not taking into account all of the people calling their councillor, finding out if this is legitimate, upset about this. So those costs are not being sort of, as far as I know, sort of delegated anywhere. They're kind of being rolled into, the work of the municipal councillors and their staff. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because I can only imagine, to your point, people getting that tax bill in June and saying, well, geez, I just forgot, or I didn't know, or, and this is something that I just thought of, to be honest with you, Stuart, is snowbirds. Right, people that have left their house and gone to live down south in Florida, and they're not keeping up with what's happening here in the city. That's another group that may be caught in the middle of all this.
Exactly, and I'm just doing some quick math here. If we think of $8 million of the cost of administering the tax. And the tax is assessed at 1% of the assessed value, then they have to assess over $800 million of property. Now, assuming an impact average value of a home in Ottawa is around $400,000, that's over $2,000 bills that they have to send just to cover the cost of the program. And there's no information available. I mean, Tony Miller, who's the chair of our Ottawa Small Landlords Association, had done some math, and he pointed out that at the present time, city staff admit that there may only be hundreds of vacant units. And so I don't see, one of the things that we were told was that this vacant unit tax will create additional revenue for the city to use to spend on affordable housing. But when I do the math, I just don't see that there's any money there for affordable housing because they're spending it all on administering the tax.
Mm-hmm. Really interesting conversation, Stuart, and we're following this story very closely. We've asked Mayor Mark Sutcliffe what he thinks of this as well, and he's following this closely. We'll continue to ask those tough questions of our elected officials as well. Stuart, thanks for your time today.
You're welcome, Sam. Thank you.
Stuart McPherson joining us today from Ottawa Small Landlords Association. If you haven't filled that form out, boy, oh boy, you better get doing that because we don't want to see you get that tax bill inadvertently in June. When we come back, a member of the OPS is going to join us. Ottawa Police Service Sergeant Rob Carnes is going to spend some time with us talking about the automated license plate readers. This fascinates me. We're going to be coming back asking him some of those tough questions on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
It's about sharing and caring. It's about doing and belonging. It's about living life to its fullest. And it's about laughing out loud. We are L'Arche Canada, and we're about witnessing and sharing the gifts of all people. Learn more about us today.
Your visit isn't really necessary.
I'll judge for myself.
I know you're an MP, Miss McPhail, but a woman has never...
I am not leaving till I do. How can such a society be called civilized? If those appalling conditions don't change, that prison will explode!
Perhaps our lone lady member is too fragile to know what is normal in a prison.
Is this normal?
Her courage would lead to the overhaul of the entire Canadian penal system. Agnes McPhail, Canada's first woman MP.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on City News. Time is ticking. If you haven't got those tickets yet for the Snowsuit Fund 50/50, do not wait another minute because Friday's coming really fast. That's when the big draw is going to happen, and we might be calling you to tell you that you have won over $300,000. The jackpot just keeps going up every single day, and we know the other $300,000 plus will be going to, of course, the Snowsuit Fund to keep kids nice and warm with those snowsuits. Over 16,000 kids in our community those families rely on the Snowsuit Fund. So we really do want to make sure that the 50-50 draw is as successful as possible. You can get your tickets. Super easy way to do this. You can go to the website, which is really easy, Snowsuit Fun 5050, or you can text 555. You can text the word money. Really, really super simple. Now, what I love about it is that it's $10. You can join for $10. You can get a ticket for $10, or you can get lots of tickets. I think it's $500 for $100. So there is lots of opportunity for everybody to participate, no matter how much you can sort of spend on the initiative. And we're so excited here for Friday because we're going to be announcing the big winner. It might be you. Wouldn't that be cool? What would you do with $300,000? I have to ask you, Noah, if I handed you $330,000, what would you do with it?
Oh, that's I think the first thing I would do is book a nice, long, warm vacation somewhere. Maybe somewhere tropical.
Somewhere tropical.
And then I don't know, maybe just some good investing.
Okay, that's a good idea. So lots of great ideas there. I know you have your own ideas as well about what you would do with over $300,000. And of course, last year we gave over $400,000 away to a winner, which was a great, fantastic story. We're still buzzing about that story. Gave away $407,000. So let's get that jackpot up and look forward to the big draw on Friday. We wanted to get caught up today with Sergeant Rob Carnes from Traffic Escort Unit with the Ottawa Police Service. Hello, Sergeant.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Okay, so I've got lots of questions for you. The automated license plate reader. What is this?
It's a device that Ottawa Police have had since 2016, so it's nothing new. Basically what it is, it's a device that takes a picture of a number plate. It runs it through a database. If there's any irregularities about the vehicle or the register keeper, then an alert will pop up on the mobile work computer, which the officer has in the car.
Okay, so then the officer would maybe throw the lights on and head after that person to have a discussion with them.
Yes. It's able to detect a number of things, one of which is suspended, prohibited drivers, amber alerts, stolen vehicles, stolen plates, people wanted on warrant, and also expired plates. So it has a number of capabilities.
Okay, so and there you go. That's why you're a sergeant and I'm not. Those are lots of different reasons that I didn't think about. So I'm just thinking, because a lot of people are thinking about the expired plates, and I think when the Ontario government gave us some money back during the pandemic and said we didn't need the little sticker, I think there was a lot of confusion in the province about whether you had to renew that plate. Would you agree that that was kind of a confusing time?
Yes and no. If people actually took the time as well to look in that letter, when you cashed in your check, there was a slip in there that explained that plates still had to be renewed. And it explained how to actually do it. It was explained that, yes, it was free, yet you had to go online and basically renew your plates online. And that's what the requirement is now. The whole thing is free. You still have to go online, and as long as you've got your ownership and insurance card with you as you process it at your computer, it's going to take you about 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes to renew your plate, and you can sign up for either 1 year or 2 years. I signed up for 2 years, and that's it. You're good to go for 2 years. And additionally, what they've also done now, which I'd like to highlight as well, is the MTO are no longer sending out reminders for expired when your plates will next expire, and they're not sending out reminders for your driving license expiry.
Okay, so it's up to us.
It is, but the MTO are being relatively helpful in that you can now sign up for automated reminders. And you'll either get an SMS, text, or an email nearer the time of expiry to remind you that either your plates are expiring and your license expiring. It will also cover your health card.
And it is helpful, I guess it is around our birthday, right, Sergeant?
Correct, yes.
Yes. So that does help. Are you surprised at the amount of people that haven't done this? Are you finding a lot of people that have plates that are not up to date?
Yes, there's been a huge increase, a massive increase since the provincial government made this free. Confusion may still reign, but we've tried to publicise as much as possible, and the ministry additionally put that messaging on the 417 and the 416 you may have passed at some time over the last few months, where it explains you have to still renew your plates. But yes, there's a lot of people still not taking advantage of the free tags. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I just got an alert on the ALPR as we were speaking.
Oh, no problem. Do you have to go, Sergeant?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
So let me ask you this then, Sergeant. When a member is pulling over a member of the public because they've used this reader, and let's say they've caught somebody that hasn't had the opportunity yet to do this, or once again confusion, they don't know, are they being issued a ticket, or is this a warning?
No, currently they're being issued a ticket. We're dealing with a lot of plates that had expired in 2021. And a lot throughout 2022. Obviously, officers do have the discretion not to issue a ticket and either give a written warning or a verbal warning. But we feel now that the messaging has been out there for a long time. It's been promoted via OPS, via the media, and unfortunately now if your plates are well expired, you're going to get a ticket, and that's $110 in Ontario. But let's not forget, if you venture over into Quebec, you're going to be looking at a fine of, I think it's around $500.
Yes, it is, yeah.
If you don't have your plates up to date, and that's a huge amount.
I had a friend go to the spa there and receive, I think it was $495 ticket. And it certainly took any of the zen out of her spa day to come back and see a ticket like that on her windshield. So definitely a good point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So is there a way to just check? Like, for instance, Sergeant, my birthday's coming up at the end of January, and I always get a 2-year sticker. So I feel like I did it in 2021 for 2 years. So this would be my time. But is there a way to check?
If you go onto the MTO website, there are links there that take you to the relevant portal in order to renew your validation, or your plate, as it would be now. You should be able to check it there.
Very, very helpful information today, and I'm hoping we've inspired some people to get their plate registered, and appreciate your time today, and wanting all of the members of Ottawa Police Service to stay nice and safe today, okay?
Thank you very much. And like I said, I'd rather people go out and renew than receive a ticket from us. That's I want to highlight that. So, yeah, please definitely renew your plates.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Sergeant Rob Carnes, joining us today from Traffic Escort Unit for Ottawa Police Service. Appreciate their time today. When we come back, we know there was a big decision last night at the Ottawa Carleton District School Board regarding a Jewish equity coach. We're going to talk about that when we return on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Hi, I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
Hi, I'm Danielle Allard, and I am a proud Ottawa born and raised singer-songwriter, and I'm part of Encore Ottawa 3. I really hope you like the music and just come and see all of the talent that Ottawa has to offer.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It is Wednesday, January 18th. Good morning. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smith Falls, it is -1. And here's what's making news this hour. Canada has committed 200 more armored vehicles to Ukraine to help with the country's defense. Defense Minister Anita Anand made the announcement during a surprise trip to the country to meet with her Ukrainian counterparts, in addition to the $5 billion that Canada has provided in military, financial and humanitarian assistance since last February. Hundreds of Canadian soldiers are also training Ukrainian forces in Britain and Poland. And Hudson's Bay has announced 25 initial Bay locations will also have Zella's experience. Of the 25 stores, 2 are in Ottawa and 1 in Gatineau. The Hudson's Bay stores in Celeron Rideau Centre and at the Promenade Gatineau will all house the stores, which could take up to 10,000 square feet. And the stores are set to open in the spring. An attorney for Derek Chauvin is expected to ask an appeals court to throw out the former Minneapolis police officer's conviction in the murder of George Floyd. He plans to argue before the Minnesota Courts of Appeal today that legal and procedural errors deprived Chauvin of a fair trial. Floyd died in 2020 after Chauvin, who is white, pinned the black man to the ground with his knee on his neck for 9.5 minutes. Floyd's death touched off a firestorm of protest and a painful national reckoning with racism. Prosecutors argue that Chauvin had a fair trial and a just sentence. Sydney News Time is 11:31. I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, the conversation that we've been having a lot here on City News is regarding the rise in anti-Semitism in this city, and in particular in regards to the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. Last evening, it was a unanimous vote to hire a Jewish equity coach. And we're joined now by Lyra Evans, board chair for the school board. Hello, Lyra. Hello. Lyra. Hi, Lyra. Thank you for spending time with us today on City News.
It's great to be here.
So, Lyra, take me to how we got to the meeting of last night.
So, last night was a regular committee of the whole meeting. A motion was brought forward by one of our trustees. Notice of motion was given at the board meeting in December, saying that this person was intending to bring forward the motion that passed last night to hire one full-time position for a Jewish equity coach.
And we know that there's been an incident at a school in the West End, very, very unfortunate circumstances there, and there's been charges laid. Do you think that that particular incident sort of sped up this process and ensured that that this was dealt with in an efficient way?
I think this was one of a couple of incidents. I don't know if this was the catalyst, but the notice of motion, like I said, was given in December. Charges, I don't believe, were laid until January.
That's correct.
So I don't think it was in and of itself the spark.
I meant the incident itself, but to your point, yes, you're right. The charges weren't laid until January. Lyra, let me ask you this. You know, when you serve as a trustee, we know you've been a trustee for a couple of terms, and now you take on the chairmanship, which is a very, very big job in this city. And I don't think you or anybody that's held that position ever gets enough credit for taking on that role, because it's certainly one that's a difficult role to take. Did you ever in a million years think that serving, as a board chair, that this would be a top issue, that we would still be talking about hate in our community, anti-Semitism towards Jewish people in our community?
So you're right, being a board chair is a lot of responsibility, but it's one that I think I do reasonably well. The mandate that I have been elected to and that I've been pushing for has been equity across the board, making sure that we address all forms of hate in our schools, making sure that we address the needs of communities as we find they are arisen. This most recently has been addressing the rise in anti-Semitism. Over the last number of terms, we have made motions, we have created projects to address hate and to address inequities with other groups. And now it is time to address the needs of the Jewish community and to address anti-Semitism in schools. This is an ever ongoing process. There will always be need that we will find and then address.
I think the one thing I keep hearing about every time, in my mind, every time we talk about any form of hate towards the Black community, hate towards the LGBTQ community, or hate towards the Jewish community, I can't help but think in my mind that kids are not born with hate. That hate is learned. So where is this being learned? Is this happening in homes in our community and therefore brought to school?
We're seeing an increase in, the word I'm going to use is radicalization, of views of young people, particularly preteen and young teen boys. A lot of the content that gets shown to them by YouTube algorithms or TikTok algorithms or Instagram algorithms push them towards content creators who promote these divisive views. It's a growing concern amongst educators and amongst people around the school board table about how do we address this increase in radical views amongst usually young boys.
And, I never really like to say his name, but I will. Kanye West, has come out and said some horrific things. Do you think that's also, leading young people to think differently?
So there's a concept known as the Overton window, which is the subset of things that is appropriate to discuss in public society, or the kind of things that's appropriate to debate. Nobody has debates about whether or not people of color are deserving of the same rights anymore the way that they used to 100 years ago. And so when it comes to things like the statements made by Kanye West, when you have large public figures begin to make statements that are otherwise outside, and like you said, unacceptable statements outside of the public sphere, it begins to push that acceptable window. More people might say, well, if Kanye West can do it for the Jewish community, or J.K. Rowling can do it for the trans community, maybe we should be discussing these things. And it's not good when the Overton window gets shifted away from a human rights focus and towards debating the humanity or the rights of groups of people.
So what will the Jewish Equity Coach do, Lyra?
So the Jewish Equity Coach, the job description is going to be created by the senior team and the equity team at the school board. But a number of things that were talked about last night was things like supporting Jewish students when there are incidents of hate, keeping a record of incidents of hate, incidents of anti-Semitic hate, working with educators to create inclusive resources around the Holocaust or around curriculum delivery in line with the appropriate social studies curriculums, working with staff to understand the impact of anti-Semitism, working with the equity team to make sure that when we are creating resources, we are making sure that we are doing so in a way that takes the concerns of the Jewish community into mind.
So where do parents fall in here, Lyra?
Could you be more specific?
In terms of this, because it's one thing to talk to children. Is there a way to communicate with parents, or have I missed that in what you were saying?
So the equity coach positions are usually educator positions. We've got the word coach on a number of different positions. We have instructional coaches who work primarily with staff. We have equity coaches or graduation coaches who work with students who are struggling to graduate. So the coach model at the OCDSB has a wide range of possible applications. I don't know if the Jewish equity coach position is going to have a parent focus so much as it will have an educator focus and a student focus. But like I said, the job description hasn't been written yet. I know it will have communicate with the Jewish community or maintain a relationship with the Jewish community.
The reason I ask that part is, I mean, I've got a 15-year-old daughter. We talk a lot about what she sees on social media, but what you just shared about social media and young men, I think that would be something a Jewish equity coach, if there was a seminar or a webinar or something for people to watch and to learn that that's happening. I mean, that was even a nugget for me today, Lyra, to be honest. So that's why I was thinking about parents, because it really will be a trifecta, right? It's the student, the board, and of course parents as well. Students go home at night, right?
Yeah. The comments that I made about the increase in polarization or radicalization of young men is broader than just anti-Semitic comments. We're seeing a general push towards racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism. And so, like, the content creators that young men are being steered to by the algorithm that I talked about, by the social media platforms algorithms, are usually not just one specific thing. They're usually transphobic and anti-Semitic and sexist and so putting the responsibility at the feet of one equity position as opposed to the equity team at the board seems a little seems like the wrong place to land that responsibility.
Daunting for one person, right? Yeah.
Good word. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lyra, let me ask you this. When this vote was coming and we know everything that's happened to the board, how important was it from a board perspective, as the board chair and trying to, gel this team of individuals together as a board? How important was it that this vote ended up being unanimous?
I think it shows a very strong message to the Jewish community that the OCDSB has heard their concerns, is taking their concerns seriously. I think if this had passed 7-5, that message of strong support would have been, less unanimous, less strong. And so I think it is important that when it comes to human rights positions like this, there is unanimity amongst the board, that the board speaks with one voice.
As the board chair, and I know this is a new role for you, Lyra, and you've done a really great job. You've been very good about joining us here. The transparency is appreciated from where I sit. I want you to know that. But I also want to ask you, Lyra, what keeps you up at night as the board chair of a school board that has a very, very long list of issues, as most school boards do? What keeps you up at night?
I'm particularly worried about the gaps in provincial funding. So our school board is funded more than 90% by the province. There are little bits of money that come in from other sources, but more than 90% of the revenue of the school board comes in from the province. We overspend on special education compared to what the province gives us. We overspend on, or the province earmarks to special education. We overspend on occasional teachers. We overspend on these kinds of equity programs aren't specifically funded. And so every time we do that, it comes at a cost to our general budget. And many school boards around the province spent out of their reserves. So the school board has a very modest set of reserves. On $1 billion budget, I believe our reserves are $4 to $6 million. And so, and that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're working on $1 billion annual budget, that's very, very little.
Yes.
You're looking at less than 1% of the budget. And so with so little money left in reserve, it doesn't leave us with a lot of flexibility. I am concerned that the provincial government is going to remove funding, or is going to allow funding to not keep pace with inflation, and we're not going to be able to meet the needs of the community. We're not going to be able to undertake these equity programs. We're not going to be able to do the work that we know needs to be done.
Well, I can completely understand why that would keep you up at night. That is a big worry, because you're affecting the future of so many kids, right? If they're not receiving that education as a special needs student, and well, the list goes on and on and on. Lyra, I really appreciate your time today. You've been very generous. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Lyra Evans joining us today, the board chair for the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, talking about the decision last night, the unanimous decision that a Jewish equity coach will be hired by that board. This is some good news today. It's a step in the right direction. When we come back, Wendy Boomer's going to be here. She is my radio soul sister, and she's from Country 92.3, and you just never know what's going to happen with Wendy and I. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
On Thursday's Daytime Ottawa, if you're looking to travel anytime soon, you'll want to tune in to Thursday's show. We're going to tell you about some of the top destinations, some of the trends when it comes to travel, and of course some advice of things you need to think about before you leave. We'll also tell you about a brand new art exhibition, and keeping on that theme, we'll tell you about a great opportunity for Canadian artists available out there. That's all that and more on Thursday's Daytime Ottawa.
Think it's okay to drive high? Think again. Drug-impaired driving is as illegal as drunk driving, and in Ontario, the penalties are the same. If police suspect you're driving under the influence of drugs of any kind, or a combination of drugs and alcohol, and you fail a roadside test, your license will be suspended immediately for up to 30 days. You'll pay a penalty of $198. And you can be charged with a criminal offense of impaired driving, the same as alcohol. Driving high is never okay.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. Into the deep unknown. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Talking about what's happening in the Valley.
Making sure you are in the know. Well, that's what they're supposed to do.
Let's see what happens. Here's what you need to know with Wendy Boomer on the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
The expectations are so high when we're together, Wendy. I worry about that. Wendy Boomer, of course, from Country 92.3. So I have very few people in the studio anymore because of COVID-19. We didn't have people in the studio for a very long time. So every time I look, and I know you're about to come in studio, and I look and I see your beautiful face through that glass, I know it's time. And I know it means we get to talk about all things happening in the Valley. Let's start with, I know we're going to go all around the Valley, which I can't wait. So why don't we start with Carleton Place?
Yeah. So Blue Monday was this week.
Yes.
Yeah. It's supposed to be the Debbie Downer of the year. So Carleton Place is thinking about that and actually having a winter blues vendors market. So a little bit of shop therapy, let's be real.
Right.
An opportunity to just join all kinds of great vendors from Carleton Place area and beyond. And they actually do have a few openings, it looks like, for some other vendors as well, if you're interested. But basically, January 28th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Grab your shopping bags, and that will be happening at the Carleton Place Arena. And we don't have to list all the incredible vendors that we know. Things like this can just perk you up and maybe get your Christmas shopping done for next year, eh, Sam?
Where would I even put it? Where would I store all that stuff? Can I tell you something? As you know, we're in the middle of a move. I might have found a couple of Christmas presents.
Oh, really?
While I was moving.
They were like, oh, crap.
But not Christmas presents for this Christmas. Christmas presents for my daughter from 3 or 4 years ago.
She's not into Thomas the Tank Engine anymore. I hate to break it to you.
So I always thought I was so clever because I used to hide her gifts in suitcases. Not clever at all, by the way. Don't do that.
Suitcases which you don't use anymore because you were afraid to use the big ones, so you only use the carry-on. So you didn't know that there was anything in there.
And where was I going? It's a pandemic, right? So where was I going? So anyway, yes, we shared those goodies with someone else. Anyway, let's head to. Okay, we're in Carleton Place.
Yeah,
we're gonna take a little road trip. Here we go. We're going all the way to Petawawa.
Yeah, Petawawa has the Ottawa Valley Wedding Show coming up on February 5th. If you've never been to a wedding show, first of all, obviously, if you have a recent engagement, these are great, if not for anything else, to generate ideas for what you want for your wedding so that you don't completely panic and or have too many things going on. You might find the DJ for your wedding at this event. You might find the dress that you want at this event because there's a fashion show, there's door prizes, there's always actually really great opportunities to win something for your upcoming wedding too, right? So why were you smirking?
Well, you're
first?
Inspiring. Maybe I want to get married again so I can go to the wedding show.
So here's the thing: even if you are always the bridesmaid, never the bride,
right?
Not a bad idea to go to these things as well because again, you can get some ideas for the bachelorette or whatever. Like, there's so much in place at these now that it's just, again, really great to get the juices flowing and maybe even walk away with a few things checked off your list.
For sure. And people are being so creative with weddings now.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Have you heard about the new sort of thing called micro weddings?
No.
Yeah, so basically what they're doing is they're saying we can't afford to do, a big giant wedding with 200 people, but what we're going to do is have 40 people in a more intimate wedding, and then we'll have a big party.
Yeah.
So ironically, one of my husbands and I were way ahead of the trend because we actually did that. We did that way back in, sorry, I'm going by decade here, way back in 2003. Oh my gosh, Wendy. We would have been married 20 years this year. It's all coming back to me now. Good heavens. Anyway, sorry, just a little bit of a note there. So we did that in 2003 where we had a very small wedding and then we came back and had a big party. And it was a lot of fun. And it was a way for us to kind of, connect with everybody. We came back and had the party after our honeymoon. We were still married, and did that. But because the cost of weddings are so much, so going to a wedding show like this and getting ideas, really great idea.
Yeah, exactly. I love the micro wedding idea as well. I mean, these days, just with funds and everything as well. And I mean, I'm always the person to give the advice to the young couples anyways. I'm like, it is your day. Do what you want to do. Right. We were kind of forced to do it differently than we had set in our minds. We wanted to go down south, but family was like, we can't travel, blah, blah, blah. I don't regret any of it, but in this day and age, you do whatever the heck you want to do. Right. Again, if mom and dad want to have the big party, they can throw it.
Exactly. Because it is quite expensive, for sure.
It is very expensive. So again, this is a great opportunity to just go and kind of shake out some of those ideas and plans.
So I think by going to Arnprior, so we were in Petawawa, and now we're heading to Arnprior, and this is going to kind of bring back the days for me when I was in the gymnasium of St. Matt's High School.
Yep.
Okay. Does this song bring up anything for you, Wendy?
It does. Mostly my mother talking about her high school prom.
You did not just do that to me. You did not just do that to me. You are never allowed in this studio again. No, you did not just do that to me. But okay, still your friend. I love you. So we're talking about tween dances, my friend.
See, it was the early 90s for me when I was going to these, right?
Keep going, Wendy. Just keep talking,
keep
my
digging,
friend.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's be real, though. These are a really big deal, and especially if it is outside of the school, it feels even more special. So there is a tween dance happening in Arnprior on January 27th. Tween meaning it is open to ages 9 to 13, which I also love because, again, if it is something that's happening in the public outside of the school system, you want to know what age group is going to be there and all those kinds of things. So a great opportunity for kids to join in on what, is just something that is always memorable.
Absolutely.
Whether it was this song or another.
Stop it. So what was the song in your generation, Wendy?
Oh, mine was probably some really crappy 90s pop dance song like I'm Blueby, da bo dee da do da. Not the same vibe.
As opposed to this classic that was mine. Stairway to Heaven, yes.
January 27th in Arnprior at the Nick Smith Center. It's the tween dance. You can purchase tickets in advance for $15. Otherwise, they're going to be $20 at the door.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. You've got your pulse on everything that's happening in the valley. Is this, do you think, Noah, what Wendy was listening to?
Oh, I think he's picture Wendy bumping.
There's
this
Wendy.
Right now.
Wendy's like,
okay, yeah.
Oh yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. Just since Wendy dated you a bit, we'll date Wendy a bit. But
right. By the way, I'm never working with you two in there either. Again, but anyway, it's always great to get caught up with you. Listen, Friday's a very big day here at City News.
Yes,
Snowsuit Fund 50/50. And it just keeps growing. Every time I look, over $330,000.
Oh my gosh.
And someone gets to take that home, and all those monies go towards buying those snowsuits for all the little ones so they can enjoy winter like we did as little ones and making sure they enjoy everything winter has to offer.
I don't want to be incorrect, but I believe this is the biggest for the Snowsuit Fund and the biggest, not only for the takeaway for the fund itself, but for a winner. This is massive,
it's huge,
exciting, and thank you to everybody who's been purchasing their tickets, and there's still time.
Well, I had someone reach out to me to say, hey, listen, I bought tickets in December and I'm buying tickets today.
Yep.
And what I love about it is you can buy tickets for $10 or $100. You just do, text the word money to 555. So easy to do there. It's going to be a very exciting day here on Friday. Now, next Wednesday, the invitation is still open. You can come back, Wendy.
I'm actually going to Toronto, so you're welcome.
No, you're not. Are you doing something exciting?
I'm actually going to Toronto to do a little bit of an artist preview with some artists that are up and coming. One of them is called Jackson Dean.
Wow.
His song is Don't Come Looking. It's oh so good. But anyway, he is going to be in Toronto doing a showcase, so I have an opportunity to catch up with him live in person.
Okay, so you're just like doing really hip things then?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we'll see you the next Wednesday.
I'm Blueby da bo dee da do da.
Wendy, we're just keeping it real here on City News. Of course, Wendy from Country 92.3. We appreciate her time always. When we come back, it is Lunch with Sam and Matthew Fleury, Diane Deans. They're pulling up seats at the table today. We hope you'll join us for lunch on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Once upon a time, in a nursery rhyme, there were 3 bears. 1, 2, 3 bears. And they went a-walking in the cool woods a-talking while their porridge began.
Rogers TV invites you to let your imagination roam as we present Ottawa Storytellers. Each week we'll present a collection of original creative stories and inspirations for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Danielle Allard, and I am a proud Ottawa born and raised singer-songwriter, and I'm part of Encore Ottawa 3. I really hope you like the music and just come and see all of the talent that Ottawa has to offer.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It is Wednesday, January 18th. Good afternoon. I am Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it is -1, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh addressed his caucus today in a keynote address that focused heavily on the struggles faced by the working class. Singh says it feels like Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal government is waging war against workers. He also accused Trudeau of allowing Alberta, Manitoba and Ontario premiers to dismantle Medicare because they have introduced publicly funded but privately delivered healthcare services.
While Daniel Smith and Doug Ford and Heather Stephenson launch a mission to privatize public universal Canadian healthcare, Justin Trudeau does nothing. And Pierre Poilievre cheers them on.
Singh says the NDP caucus will fight like hell for workers and their families when the House of Commons resumes later this month. With the weather forecast for Ottawa and the Valley, here is City News weather specialist Denise Andriachi.
Still a bit of light snow early on today, but then we should taper off. Mainly cloudy conditions and overnight lows near -11. No longer under that freezing rain warning, but we still have active weather for the next couple of days. Thursday, cloudy, -4 through the day, and then periods of snow Thursday night and Friday up to 15 centimeters. Overnight tonight, -11.
City News Time 12:02. Blame for the travel hell many passengers faced over the holidays is more likely to be placed on Mother Nature and the airlines than the feds. That's according to a new poll. City News parliamentary reporter Cormac McSweeney has more.
Despite a federal committee investigating the travel chaos and the opposition targeting the Trudeau government over this, Shachi Curl, president of the Angus Reid Institute, tells me their latest poll finds the feds are not the ones taking the blame in the eyes of Canadians.
The weather, the airlines and rail companies, and then in a very distant second place, the federal government.
Around 70% blame the weather and air and rail companies, but only a third believe the government bears responsibility. Almost 80% say the country does need better protections for passengers and more competition in the airline industry. The push for these changes may have something to do with the fact that close to half of people plan to travel more this year. The transport minister is vowing to improve passenger protections. Over the holidays, there were mass delays and cancellations due to winter storms, some via rail trains trains were stuck on tracks for more than 20 hours. Some were stuck on planes on tarmacs for hours, and hundreds were left stranded in Mexico. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
The NTC is again warning people to stay off the canal. The ice is not stable or thick enough to support many people. You will see crews on the surface trying to get it ready for skating, but that is not an indication that the ice is ready. The National Capital Commission also warns the water depth below the ice of the canal ranges from 3 feet to 14. The ice does have to be at least 30 centimeters thick before the skateway is open. And with warmer weather approaching again, crews are not sure when the skating season will begin. I am Damilola Unime. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for joining us for lunch today. I don't know what you're having, but I'm feeling a bit hungry today. I hope you're having a great lunch and feasting as we do on the top news stories of the day. We wanted to invite a couple of people to the table today, including Diane Deans, former city councillor. How are you, Diane?
I'm very well, thanks, Sam. How are you?
Good. We're having lunch today with the one and only Mathieu Fleury. He is running a bit fashionably late today, so we're going to be having a chat with just you and I until we have Mathieu join us. But Diane, how's it been the last couple of months when you've stepped away from the council table? Have you missed it?
Yeah, I miss it. I've spent 28 years at the City of Ottawa. I'm very dedicated to this city and its citizens, and I don't know if I wasn't ready for retirement or what, but yeah, I don't. I still have a lot of opinions and a lot to offer, but also, renewal is really good at the council table, and I think that's important too. So, I've been doing some other things, and I'm happy with that.
Well, that's good, and I think, Diane, knowing that the last year was a tough year, probably you enjoy some of that time away just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the last year was probably the hardest year I had in my 28 years at City Hall, and I do think that there needed to be a restart, and I hope that Mayor Sutcliffe and the new council can get things back on track, because the track that we were on was not a healthy one.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you a little bit, and we'll ask Mathieu as well this question when he joins us, but there just seems to be a rise in hate incidents, or maybe we're talking about it more. We know that the different communities have gone through a lot over the years in terms of hate and trying to have an equitable community, but it just seems to be a rise in hate. And are you seeing it, Diane, in your network?
Yeah, I think we're all seeing a rise in hate. It's certainly a worrisome trend. For me, Sam, hate is born out of ignorance. But, I think the reason that we're seeing, at least in my opinion, that we're seeing a rise in hate is because we have world leaders right now who have incited hate. And they have, used hateful rhetoric in their speeches, and they have kind of given the green light to people to ratchet up their own rhetoric on social media and other formats and act upon it. And so, I think part of the solution is to make sure that our leaders are being respectful of all of our citizens and not inciting this kind of violent rhetoric.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can't agree more. I think, and I don't know if it's just a coincidence, or I feel like we've seen more here in Canada, following the election of former President Donald Trump. I found that opened up a door not only in the United States for some of that rhetoric, but I do feel like it came up north, and it opened up Pandora's box here in terms of the amount of people sharing openly about how they have felt about groups, or, to your point, acting on it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all remember the gross rhetoric that Donald Trump used against Muslims in the United States, and that doesn't stop at the border. When you have a world leader of his prominence that is inciting that kind of violent hate against a group of people, it permeates into our day-to-day lives, and I think that's exactly what's happened.
Do you think women in public service, I think about, Catherine McKenna, I think about, Dr. Nili Kaplan-Murth, I think about you, to be honest with you. I mean, so much, horrible things were said to you through social media or through, email correspondence. Do you think women receive a disproportionate amount of negative social media? Do you think that's the case, or do you think we just talk about it more?
What an interesting question, Sam. I mean, I think social media is a double-edged sword. I think for some women, for example, women in the Middle East that lack freedom of the press, social media is a very important tool for them. But I think for, I know politicians best, especially high-profile politicians, seem to be treated especially harshly when it comes to social media. And that's, my experience. It's certainly the experience of other women politicians that I know.
Do you feel that it impedes people from putting their name forward? We saw a lot of women put their name forward for both the provincial election and, of course, our municipal election. But do you think we're missing out on some women that want to serve publicly, but they're nervous about this type of slam on their character and slam on their family? Sometimes people even bring people's families into it, especially in the case of Dr. Nili Kaplan-Murth.
Yeah, I think it absolutely impacts people's decision to serve publicly. I just think back to the Freedom Convoy and the messages that I was receiving and the kind of social media interactions that I was subject to. And, it doesn't make you want to put yourself out there and be a target for that kind of attack. So, it absolutely has an impact.
And we're now joined by Mathieu Fleury, of course, former city councillor. Hello, Mathieu.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Good. You've got Diane Deans, your former colleague here as well. Yes.
Hi, Matt.
We're talking, Matt, about hate and about the rise in hate. And the question I just posed to Diane, she was just answering there, is do you think it's a lot of women receiving a disproportionate amount of hate in terms of social media and email correspondence? We think about people like Catherine McKenna. We think about people like Dr. Kaplan-Murth and even Diane as she's here with us now, and we know Carol Ann Meehan received some of this as well. Maria McRae in her time. Do you think it's disproportionate, Mathieu?
It's hard to gauge. I think we have to get to the source of the challenge, right? And for me, it's listening, it's understanding some of those realities and challenges. It starts in schools, right? To me, it starts in schools, and it also extends to the way we interact. I mean, social media is sort of these tools that we jump on, we're not accountable for. You could put any number. You can be at 1234 and have no identity, and then go and blast everyone everywhere. I think that's where I'm looking for a little more respect on those platforms to help public discourse, public discussion. It's okay not to agree, but there's a way to engage and approach, and I think Diane knows that well. I mean, with her work at council and my work, I saw it over the last 12 years. When no one was on social media, then we as elected officials got engaged through Facebook and Twitter, and Twitter turned on us where, because anyone can write anything and not identify themselves, then there's a lot of elements that maybe people have multiple accounts. Maybe people target an elected official. Maybe, so bringing some respect, bringing some honest and fair discourse is what we all want. That's why we're in the public sphere. And yeah, I think that in this environment, there are women leaders that were targeted. Catherine McKenna comes to mind, and in that environment as well.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate your thoughts on that, Mathieu. We know that it's the responsibility of all Ottawa residents right now that own a home to fill out that survey by the City of Ottawa for that vacant unit tax. Diane, you were at the table when this decision was made. Do you think this was a good decision to bring in this program?
I do think it's a good decision, and just to be clear, it's not homeowners per se. If you live in your home, you're not subject to this tax. It's people that own secondary dwelling units that are vacant more than, I think it's 184 days a year, something like that. We have a housing emergency, and we don't want vacant units. We want to, anyone can avoid paying the vacant unit tax by making sure that unit is available on the market to a family or individuals that need a home. I think it was the right thing to do. There is too many vacant units in Ottawa in the midst of a housing crisis.
And Mathieu, how do you feel about the fact you were at the table when this decision was made? It's being rolled out now. Is it the right decision for the city?
A couple of things on that. So I am a property owner. I have signed up for the vacant unit tax portal online, as have over 187,000 other property owners in Ottawa. It exceeds what the city's uptake was, the expectations were. So, I know we're talking about it. It's an important conversation. I think the city has a communication challenge there. It does not explain well why we're doing it and why we use that method. What happens is, think about a vacant building. Think about, I have some that come to mind in my former area. Let's say Wilbrod or along King Edward, or the old Our Lady Church at the corner of Cumberland and Murray, for example. So the city doesn't proactively, unless there's called issues at that address, look at those vacant buildings. So I know that sometimes we think the city's big brother, but it really isn't in that environment. So you have a number of properties that are vacant, and those properties have risks. They're costly to the city. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot more fires. There's a lot more incidents in those vacant buildings. And that impacts the city from a tax point of view, because we have to spend more money to bylaw to enforce and to track and to repair. And it's also negatively impacts the neighbors. So instead of really explaining why we put the vacancy tax in the first place, we're explaining why people have to report why their unit's not vacant, we don't have a clear mechanisms to identify and target a vacant unit. A building doesn't necessarily look vacant from the street, yet, as Diane described, the city and council's interest is to see all residential units in Ottawa occupied, because we're faced with such a housing situation.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting to hear from you both on that topic for sure. We're following the vacant unit tax story here closely on City News. We're going to come back after this short break with two former city councillors, Diane Deans and Mathieu Fleury. You're going to stay with us on City News and talk about the top news stories of the day. We hope you'll stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will endeavor to describe the feeling on this ship.
The American ship is just trailing the Blue Nose.
Angus should never have agreed to this last race. She's too old.
Eddie! Coming back! The cops are hanging back! Get to it, Matt! Here's there's some kind of difficulty.
There seems to be something loose up there, I believe.
The topsail's foul!
Just once more, old girl, and you can rest.
Her last race and still undefeated, the Blue Nose out of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia was fastest in the world for almost 20 years.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. Into the deep unknown. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
And it's lunchtime, everybody. We're feeding on those big news stories of the day. Diane Deans, former city councillor, and Mathieu Fleury, also a former city councillor here for the city of Ottawa, joining us today. Let's talk a little bit about healthcare, Mathieu. We know that obviously this has been a very challenging time through this pandemic for so many Ontarians, and the Premier has brought down what he thinks is the solution. Is it the solution in your mind?
Oh, you're getting into a really deep conversation, and it is an important one to have. You know, my philosophy in politics has always been to not just put Band-Aids, but to get to root causes. I think the model in healthcare right now is based on sick care. You go and get help when you're sick, not proactively to stay healthy. So thinking about where we're at, thinking about COVID, thinking about the announcements that we've heard from the Ford government this last week, I'm left with a lot of questions. We have a workforce of professionals in the health sector. Think of nurses and doctors. They are either in the community in a private or public context, or in our health sector, public sector. I'm just not sure why we're not inventing new doctors or nurses. We're trying to squeeze the system to be more responsive and adaptive. what I don't understand is why that was not explained, why it can't be done within the non-for-profit and public health care that we're used to. That said, I am supportive by principle of what the Ford government is describing, which is you're using your health card, there's no additional cost that it'd be in the public environment or in a private environment. That is kind of fundamental to the Canadian way of healthcare. So that's reassuring in some areas, but they've not explained how if a doctor is doing hip replacements, say at Montfort or at the Ottawa Hospital, why can't we just change the parameters so that they can do more of that in that same space? Why do we have to move into private care, and why does that generate a better outcome? So what appears to be one move, I don't know how far that's going. They were properly explaining to us Ontarians how this is good for the long-term viability of our public and free healthcare system.
Was this announcement from Premier Doug Ford and Health Minister Sylvia Jones about the privatization of some aspects of our healthcare a surprise to you, Diane?
I don't know that it was a surprise to me, given that it's the Ford government, and that seems to be, the kind of tact that they want to take. I think all Canadians are looking for improvements in the healthcare system because it's under incredible stress right now. As an Ontarian and a Canadian, my concern is to ensure that we always have equitable access based on healthcare need, not on ability to pay, and that is worrisome for me that this may be the thin edge of the wedge. The whole concept of for-profit healthcare, as Matt correctly pointed out, we have the same number of doctors and nurses in the system. If some of them are shifting to the for-profit sector, that would seem to add a cost from the non-profit sector. And, what we really need to be doing is training more nurses and doctors for the system. And for me, just based on, I guess, anecdotally, what I've been observing, certainly the backlog in surgeries is an issue. I think that, so many Canadians not having a family physician is perhaps even a bigger issue, or at least an equally big issue. And the clogging up of our emergency rooms because we don't have clinics anymore or family physicians that can meet the day-to-day healthcare needs of our population needs to be addressed.
And you bring up such a good point. I had the privilege of speaking with a senior member of the team at the Queensway Carleton Hospital, and they are, at their highest number, I believe, last week or early the week before, and just talking about one of the reasons was the mental health piece. That they just had a number of people waiting to get into their new mental health wing at the Queensway Carleton Hospital, and we know that that Blue Monday happened on this past Monday, and we understand it's kind of a bit of a made up day, but it gives us a chance to focus on mental health. A little bit earlier today, we spoke with Senator Patrick Brazeau about his challenges and with mental health. How do you care for your mental health, Mathieu? We have about 30 seconds.
Well, recognizing that we all have mental health challenges and objectives. And for me, through the winter, it's getting out, it's being physically active and spending time with the family. I have a young family, so going to skate and building a fort or going to ski are fun family activities, and it's an important way for me to stay grounded and to stay optimistic through the cold and darker winters in Ottawa.
And how about yourself, Diane?
Well, for me, I'm a social person, so socializing with friends and family is very important to me, especially through these dark winter months when we don't have enough sunshine. Eating healthy and getting some exercise, I think, are really important. And I just had the privilege of spending 2 weeks in the sun and a warm climate, so that certainly was great for my mental health.
Absolutely. And I'll say that if you didn't have a chance to hear the conversation I had with Senator Patrick Brazeau today, you'll have another chance tonight as the encore of this show plays tonight. But you can also go to the website and listen to the podcast. It is absolutely important to listen to that conversation. It was a very important conversation today with the Senator. Important conversation with you two today as well. Thank you so much for spending time with us on The Lunch.
Always great.
Thanks for having us on,
Sam.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Diane Deans, former city councillor, and Mathieu Fleury, former city councillor as well, joining us for lunch. We appreciate it very much. Now we turn our sights to the business lunch, and we're going to start the business lunch today with Su-Ling Ching, CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We're going to talk a little business, a little Zellers. We're also going to speak with a couple of other business owners. Stay with us here on City News and Rogers TV.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride, whether you're the driver, the passenger, or the party host. Thanks for supporting sober driving. I hope we never meet.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Here we go.
Hey, going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Danielle Allard, and I am a proud Ottawa born and raised singer-songwriter, and I'm part of Encore Ottawa 3. I really hope you like the music and just come and see all of the talent that Ottawa has to offer.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort.
Damilola Unime. Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, -1, the same temperatures in Smiths Falls, and here's what's making news this hour. This just into City News Ottawa. Ontario's Integrity Commissioner says he will begin an inquiry into the government's decision to open a part of the Greenbelt for development. Stay with City News Ottawa for more on this developing story. And the former head of Ontario's science table says cases of a new COVID-19 subvariant has risen in the province and it will become the next dominant strain. Dr. Fahad Razak says that the Kraken subvariant has been surging in the U.S. and it's only a matter of time before Ontario sees a similar jump. The latest COVID-19 surveillance report from Public Health Ontario says the subvariant is expected to account for more than 22% of COVID-19 cases by the end of this week. A few weeks ago, less than 1% of COVID-19 cases were of the subvariants. The Quebec Court of Appeal says a breathing tube can now be removed from a child despite his parents' protest. The 5-year-old has been in a coma in a Montreal hospital since last June. Quebec's High Court decision agrees with the Superior Court ruling that permitted the hospital to go ahead with the procedure. City News time is 12:32. I am Damilola Unime. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, Well, it's the business lunch, everybody. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on City News. We get the opportunity, and it's a pleasure to do so, is to speak with Su-Ling Ching, CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We check in every couple of weeks and find out what's happening in the business world. How are you, Su-Ling?
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Good. How are you? You're well and keeping busy, I'm assuming.
Yes, well, it's a new year, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know you've got your finger on the pulse of all things happening in business in this community. Any exciting developments to share?
Well, Sam, internally, we're, of course, planning our year of events and looking for opportunities to engage business and community leaders in economic development initiatives moving forward. I know that we have launched the 40 under 40 nominations.
Oh, that's always exciting. I love the 40 under 40.
Well, that's why I mentioned, I know you do.
Yeah, because, well, it's just great because you get to meet people in the community that you may not have, been in touch with. And you get to see as well some of the talent in this community that you didn't even know of, the businesses that existed as well. It kind of does both, Su-Ling.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us to engage young leaders and recognize and highlight the good work that they're doing. We recognize them, of course, for their business acumen, their community leadership. So those nominations are open, Sam, and I'm hoping that that everyone in our community and businesses are looking at who they can nominate for that process.
Well, that is very exciting, and we love those events. And I know you've got lots of events planned for the year. On a business note, and I don't know if I'm just dating myself, but I'm very excited that Zellers is coming back.
I heard that. Yes,
it's so exciting to me.
Well, I'll date myself with you. I also really liked Zellers, and it's such an interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting piece, and we're going to benefit here, right?
Well, you're going to make me feel better about myself. Thank you. We know that that HBC, of course, the Hudson's Bay Company, was the owner of Zellers, and they've announced 2 of its Zellers stores experiences within Bay stores in Ottawa will be, they just announced this, I believe, today, the Rideau Centre and Saint Laurent. So that's good news.
I think it's good news and gives us some more variety. And it was a long time ago, but I recall Zellers, being a great store, and so we're looking forward to welcoming them.
And I think I know you welcome all businesses that are starting or coming back or anything in this community. But it's great to see these revitalizations happen, Su-Ling, and we always want to share the good message about becoming an Ottawa Board of Trade member as well. How are members doing at this time?
Yeah, so Sam, as you know, we are always looking to engage new members. That's how we are able to do the advocacy and economic development work that we do here in Ottawa, in our nation's capital. And so we're very grateful to the members and members of the business community who support us by becoming a member, by engaging as volunteers, and by promoting us. And so the membership is going quite well, but we are always looking for new ways to engage members because we offer benefits to help them scale and grow, and then also it allows us to address barriers to business and create new opportunities as well.
Absolutely. Such an important point. And we know that lots of discussion as well, Su-Ling, about the Ottawa Senators moving downtown to that LeBreton Flats position as well. That's going to be such a game changer, excuse the pun, for the city.
Yes, for sure. We're very supportive of that concept and very encouraged by some of the people involved in their commitment to making it happen. We feel as though that would be a big part of helping to sort of revitalize our downtown along with us infrastructure projects that are on the books, like the revitalization of the Byward Market, as well as Lansdowne 2.0. And so those are big projects that will help us to continue to grow our city and also to elevate our attractions for both visitors and for talent to move here.
For sure. And I know you're looking at ways as well, Suling, to engage Mayor Mark Sutcliffe and the new council in what the Ottawa Board of Trade is doing. How do you have those conversations with them? How do you ensure that everybody's learning the same information about the business community?
So we do that in a variety of ways, but, the mayor's office has already reached out to a lot of the key economic stakeholders. So we have met with him a few times around what our shared priorities are. And we are planning an economic roundtable next month as well to look at some of those key opportunities and issues. We've also been meeting one-on-one with a lot of the new city council members just to share what we feel our priorities are and get a sense of what theirs are. And then we also, Sam, from time to time do presentations for the members of council in the Finance and Economic Development Committee, and we'll have that opportunity coming up soon as well as it relates to the city budget.
Well, thank you so much, Suling, for joining us today on City News, and let's stay in touch about all things business, okay?
Thank you, Sam. And I'll meet you at Zellers as soon as we have the chance.
There, we can have a hot chicken sandwich. I think that's the big thing there. So,
awesome.
Thank you so much, Suling Ching, joining us, CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. I am very excited about Zellers. I think it's going to be interesting to see them back. A lot of different locations across the province of Ontario, a couple in, I believe one in Kingston, one in Mississauga, Burlington. So they're going to be all over the province. When we come back, we're going to meet a couple of business owners. Amy Willis is going to join us. She's going to talk to us about her company called Full Bellies. We're also going to meet Anne-Marie Rochon from Rochon Garden. Stay with us here on Rogers TV and City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
On Thursday's Daytime Ottawa, if you're looking to travel anytime soon, you'll want to tune in to Thursday's show. We're going to tell you about some of the top destinations, some of the trends when it comes to travel, and of course some advice of things you need to think about before you leave. We'll also tell you about a brand new art exhibition, and keeping on that theme, we'll tell you about a great opportunity for Canadian artists available out there. That's all that and more on Thursday's Daytime Ottawa.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
At Celebrate Ottawa, we love showing you something a little different. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that prove Ottawa is a vibrant and exciting city. We'll entertain you and we'll even teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grine, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lee Evans, and I am so excited to be performing for Encore Ottawa 3. Into the deep unknown. My performance will be coming out this week, so stay tuned.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it is the business lunch, but it's also lunchtime, so we're thinking about food today. We wanted to reach out to Amy Willis today, owner of Full Bellies. Hi, Amy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So you've got a wonderful website, and I want you to tell everybody what you do at Full Bellies, Amy.
All right, well, 5 minutes isn't going to do justice, but I will sum up in a nutshell what Full Bellies is. Basically, it's like a big food share program that people get to participate in, but there's no strings attached. So you can kind of shop like a grocery store. So I head into Montreal a couple times a week and grab a huge haul of fruit and vegetables and then lay it out primarily in the store in St. Isidore, and then people come through and either use their own grocery bags to fill up or a box or anything really, and they just pay one price for whatever they put into their bag.
Oh, I see. So it's a very different way of shopping than Amy.
Yeah.
And how successful have you been?
Oh, that depends how you define success, I suppose. We're all volunteers. Nobody has a salary, so it takes a huge amount of time, primarily on my part, but then a huge amount of volunteer power and hours behind the whole project. So we're basically a break-even company. So if there were salaries, then we would be a total flop. But because we're a community helping the community, it makes it so that it just works.
Well, I think the metric of success, then, you're ticking a lot of boxes that you are successful, Amy, because we know that this has been such a challenging time for families and for people that are really trying to make a go of it in this economy. It can be challenging, Amy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so tell us how we can participate.
So we've got several locations. The one closest to Ottawa is Rockland, and they set up on Thursdays and Fridays at the old Knights of Columbus building with Beginnings Church. And you just go in and you fill up a designated bag, and off you go. So, for example, a reusable grocery bag, like a typical grocery bag, is $25 to fill, and you choose whatever variety you want. And part of the reason why we do it that way is because it's just too expensive for families on a budget to buy red peppers, for example, or exotic fruit. So by being able to pack whatever you want into your bag, you're giving your family, especially the kids, I've got a heart for that, letting kids try new things. You're giving them an awesome opportunity to try all sorts of things. So that's our location closest to Ottawa, which I believe is where this radio broadcast is reaching.
That's correct.
The store, so the hub, I call it, is in St. Isidore, which is only 45 minutes from Ottawa. So it could be worth worth the trip, maybe if somebody's shopping for more than one family. And there's a little bit more option at the store, and there's a thrift store there as well. So it might make the trip that much more worth it. And then we have a couple of other pop-up locations. I do deliveries in Cornwall. We have a location in Hawkesbury, Alfred, Alexandria, and then kind of in that general area, we do deliveries, whoever needs deliveries in that area.
It really is exciting. Where did the idea come from, Amy?
I am a mom of 8, and I homeschool. And with that territory comes more friends with lots of kids. So basically it was just friends sharing boxes of food because that's what was cost effective for our families. So a few of us would go in on a box of bananas and a box of apples, and it wouldn't break the bank to give our children, our mass armies, fruit for snacks.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it would have been way too expensive.
I can't imagine being the mom of 8, Amy. That will stay with me for the rest of my life, honestly. Honestly, it will. And the fact you homeschool.
Yeah.
And you had time to talk to me on the radio. That's amazing to me.
I definitely fill every minute of my time.
Well, that's amazing. So it really did come from your own necessity in terms of seeing what other families were going through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all started right when COVID hit. So the stores were closed, and so it made it shopping was difficult 2 years ago, as everybody knows. So it made it a little bit easier to grab a box of produce and just be fine. You didn't necessarily need to go to the store as much as you used to because you've got a massive box of vegetables to choose from.
Absolutely. Where do you even, can I just ask you a question? Because it's going to, I have to ask this question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. How do you homeschool 8 children?
It's quite something, actually. By the time they get to their high school years, they're kind of self-sufficient. They just need a little bit of guidance. And there's plenty of online resources by that age that are a lot more suitable for them than me as teacher teaching them. The little ones, I just have a blast teaching them their reading and their writing and their math and whatnot. But really the trick is to teach your kids how to love learning rather than just teaching them the things that they need to know. My 15-year-old spends all of her free time reading on all sorts of points of history. She's got a heart for the Aboriginal community. She's reading the Truth and Reconciliation Act.
Wow.
And that only came from me teaching her to love to learn.
Well, that's amazing. And they're all fueled by these fruits and veggies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You've inspired me today, Amy. That's incredible that you do that, and I'm hoping today we've inspired somebody to maybe visit you. Maybe we've solved a problem for someone today that they don't feel like they can sort of provide their family with this nutritious food. Maybe you'll see some new visitors.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for asking me a few questions. I always love to share and talk about it. It's a great community.
Well, you can take solace in the fact that the kids will know that you've done a great job on radio today. So thank you for that, and all the best, Amy. Thank you so much. Amy Willis joining us today, owner of Full Bellies. How fascinating is that? I cannot imagine. Well, I can't imagine, first of all, having 8 children, which is incredible, amazing, and then to homeschool them. So that was wonderful to hear from Amy today. We wanted to share about some of these programs today, and now we're spending some time with Anne-Marie Rochon, of course, the owner of Rochon Garden. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Hi there.
So tell us all about Rochon Garden.
Rochon Gardens is actually a family-run, owned, and operated farm here in Ottawa. We're just outside of Ottawa, about 15 minutes from downtown in Edwards. We've been in business now for 66 years. Last year, we celebrated our golden 65 years. It started with my husband's great-grandparents had a farm, not this one specifically, and then his grandparents started a Rochon garden, his parents, and then finally, about 3 years ago, my husband and I took over, and we run the day-to-day operations of the farm, which is a local fruits and vegetable farm. So we grow everything right here on the farm in greenhouses, and we have fields.
Well, that's fantastic. Good for you. Honestly, I have so much respect for people that are in that industry, and I know it has to be a passion. It can't just be work, right, Anne-Marie?
Absolutely. It's, well, like we always say, it's a labor of love, because if you didn't love what you did, doing this every day, it's intense, it's intensive. And my husband, having grown up in it and doing it his whole life, I joined about 5 years ago. I joined the farm, and I truly love it. It is wonderful to see people's faces when you meet them at the farmers market. We also have a community-supported agriculture program, which is a fresh fruit and vegetable basket that people can pick up or have delivered. And when you see people at those pickup locations and they're so excited to see fresh fruits and vegetables for the season, it really does put a smile on your face, and it makes it all worth it.
And I think what's really smart about the way that you've done it is you really do have it tailored for smaller families and larger families. Tell us why that piece was so key in your success as well.
A lot of it is like listening to your customers' feedback, and we had a lot of families who weren't. We do have some families who are very large and really enjoy the bigger baskets, but then we had some couples that was just two people and their kids had gone, and they really wanted to eat fresh. They wanted to eat local, but it was just so much food for them in some of the larger shares that we had. So they really chose the smaller ones, and it's really helped us open up to a lot more people, and they don't have to think about it. It's just every week you either come pick up or it's delivered to your house, and it's just a box of fruits and vegetables that, you know, a lot of love and thought went into, but you didn't have to do anything. You just had to open your door or come and see us on location.
There's something really sort of, and I excuse the term, but organic about it, right? There's something really like, it almost feels like when someone used to deliver milk to your door, right? It just feels kind of old school, but the retro piece of it is not only a lot of fun, like you say, for families that are receiving the boxes, but there's just something wholesome about it, and remembering where our food comes from. I remember seeing this horrific study where kids thought that French fries came from the grocery store. They didn't know they were actually potatoes.
Yes, exactly. And like being able to talk to the children too and explain to them, like, I am a farmer, like I grew what you're eating, and they're just in awe of this. And they're like, how is that possible? And then for even just anybody to be able to talk to the person who actually grew their food, that is so rare these days. So it's nice to be able to do that.
And what's your favorite thing to grow, Anne-Marie?
Definitely the fruits. They're a little bit harder, but when it comes to, from like a taste perspective, those are my absolute favorites. So we do blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, apples. Like we do it all, and like those are the tougher things to grow. Like there are some things that are a little bit easier, but it's just when you have a fresh berry that's been sweetened by the sun and it's still warm and you pick it fresh off that plant, there is nothing better.
Oh my gosh, I think my mouth is watering just listening to that. So let me ask you, when someone, like if someone's ordering a box today, you know, it's mid-January, what does that box look like?
So we don't have any shares right now. So we've opened up the registrations because we don't actually grow anything in the winter, just with the cost of heating to run the greenhouses would be exorbitant, and the cost of the boxes would be really expensive. So right now what we do is we take registrations. The boxes start in May. By us taking registrations now, it allows us to prepare for the season, allows us to buy seeds, it allows us to get the equipment up and running and get everything ready to go for the start of the season. So right now we're offering an early bird special, which is usually what we do in January. It's on until March 1st. It gives you a bit of a discount on the box itself. And then in May, once the season starts, we start with greenhouse products. So you're looking at things like lettuce, a little bit of tomato. Well, tomatoes are a little bit later. So you're looking at things like lettuce, green onions, spinach, a lot of greens. And then as we transition through the season, the boxes get bigger and bigger. So they start out a little small because it's greenhouse, and those are slightly more expensive to grow, so the boxes. But as the field crops come out and we start getting fruits, and we We grow over 200 varieties of fruits and vegetables. So by the time you get to the end of October, which is our season runs from May to October, by the time you get to the end of October, your box is so full that we just have products like all the good stuff that people want: celery, carrots, apples, berries, everything is in it. And people can always go to our website and check out our pictures. We put up a gallery there to show people kind of what a box looks like, to give them a general sense of what they'll be getting once the season starts rolling.
I love this idea, and we spoke with somebody else about their program as well. I just think this is really a lovely way for families to not only support local, but also to make sure that their fridge and pantry are full of all the good stuff. Anne-Marie.
Absolutely. It just makes such a big difference when you're eating fresh, you're eating local, and you're kind of taking out the middle person, where you can go directly to the farmer and know that vegetable or fruit was picked this morning and it was brought to you fresh from a field and from the farm. So that's always, something nice to be able to do for people as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for spending time with us today on Rogers TV and City News. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anne-Marie Rochon joining us today, the owner of Rochon Garden. She does that work with her husband. We have had lots of important conversations today. If you missed the conversation I had earlier today with Senator Patrick Brazeau, I encourage you to visit our website a little bit later this afternoon. That interview will be posted on the podcast, and I suggest you listen. If you don't want to do that and you want to listen to City News a little bit